Hi, so today I'm going to have fun with delays and try and make a kind of 8-track tape kind of delay machine. So what I have is an Axoloti, a Akai MIDI mix, a MIDI controller. I've got a phone playing YouTube, streaming out the audio into the Axoloti. That's just so that I don't need to have audio. This is going to be a delay effects machine. I mean, you can make your whole synthesizer and just use the delays as an effect of the own synthesizer, but to make this easy, this is just audio coming in here, audio going out, being recorded for the purpose of this exercise. It's plugged onto the computer where the patcher is running so that I can show you everything more or less in real time, and the Akai is plugged in USB. So I probably won't be using any GPIOs, so this can just work with an Axoloti card and a MIDI controller. So to start off, I'm going to open up a patch, an empty patch, and look for an object that I've already made, and then I'll explain this object called long delay. So if I look in the community objects, there's something called long delay. So this is an object that you open up. It's got an inlet, feedback, speed, amount, and outlet. So I'm going to embed as patch patcher, and here I can see inside what is this object. So I'm going to take everything in here, copy it, Control C, and come here and glue it. And now I'm going to get rid of this object and just have what was inside. So here I have inlet. This is audio rate, so it's red coming in, and this is going into a plus, so it's mixing with whatever is here, and then it's coming out and going into a delay write SD-RAM. So this is the buffer where it goes into, and it's got the length, so it can go up to 43 seconds in mono. If you want to, I'm only going to be working in mono today. If you want to do it in stereo, you just have to duplicate everything twice and use 2 inputs. So this is the length, and then it comes into something called, let's say, sound. And then here is an object which is delay read interpret, where it reads this recording here. So this inlet is also going into an X-fade, which is a mixer which mixes between the real-time input and the delay, which is being read here. And it's being read according to a speed, which is the length of this delay, controlled by a knob. So I'm going to adapt this so that I can play around with it in real time, and then we're going to hear what happens. So I'm going to have to put in audio, so as we're mono, I'm just taking the 1. Let's do a bit better than that. Let's take 1 and 2 and mix them so that we don't lose too much information. So this will go into the X fader and into the mixing object, the plus. So here on the outlet, I'm going to put output, out stereo, have it on both sides, still mono, but at least it's on both speakers. And then these 3, speed, feedback, and amount, I'm going to put positive dial. So dial, dial, positive. So this will be speed, feedback, and amount. Oops, sorry. Amount, enter. Oh, sugar, I've already got something called amount. Silly me. Get rid of these. This is the feedback. So the feedback actually controls this delay, which is being read, going back into the live sound. And then here is the amount and speed. So the speed, it's a dial that goes from 0 to 64, and then it goes through this low pass filter so that the next position or your movements here really slowed down. So we'll see the difference of what happens when we modify the low pass filter, and we can get some quite different results, and it's useful to be able to modify it. So normally here we can go live. I'm still not using the controller, but the sound is going in, so let's go live and see what happens. There we go. So amount is at 0, feedback 0, and speed doesn't do anything for the moment. So our maximum time here is 5.46 seconds. So let's put the amount here to 50/50 and some feedback. And move the speed. See, as soon as I move the speed, it does this kind of tape effect. So if I move it slowly to a bigger amount, it's going to slow down because we're going to have more and more tape. So have a longer and longer sample. So it's going to slow it down. And more low pass filter we have, so more this is close to 0 hertz, more we're going to have a really tapey effect, because it's going to really slow down the number that's coming into here. If we put short number, well, a higher frequency here, so it's going to filter out less, we're going to have a more kind of vinyl scratching sound. So at feedback of 64, it should kind of repeat forever, but we're also always inserting sound, so it's going to just build up and become some kind of big mess, really. So at speeds very short, you can come into the kind of flanging effects and choruses, and all depends. I mean, this gets very precise to have kind of, and then you can modulate here, still according to your low pass filter rate, not rate, frequency. So if you want to go into more of these kind of very precise numbers, you just can shorten your delay sound to something much shorter. Here I was at 5 seconds. If I go down to 300 milliseconds, my whole dial will be in this kind of strange sound. Even into some Carper's strong kind of effects. So this is the basic idea, okay? So what fun can we have with this? Well, one, we can have lots of these at the same time, and then some way of routing the sound from one to the other. And, well, that's probably what we're going to do. So we're going to take this, and we're going to put some gate for the insert here. So if I put, let's put a VCA, okay? So a VCA is going to decide if the at what volume. Well, it's a kind of volume gain. The sound here is going to go into, well, live and do I want it in live too? Well, there we are. You can decide if you want this sound to be, you choose the volume live out, which is here, or no, I want to choose volume in both. So as it is perfect. And I actually for the moment just want to on and off. So on this Akai MIDI mixer, these buttons, I've configured them, or maybe they're already configured, to send out MIDI notes. So I never remember the MIDI notes, so I've got a patch somewhere with the MIDI notes here. So these are just loads of objects with all my MIDI key in and out ins. Sorry, not outs. Outs are different. So this is the top row, bottom row. So the top row will be record into my... So actually, as it's a gate, I can just send this. When I press, it will go in. When I depress, it will... let's test this. Exactly, so I just pressed, as you can probably see here. And to have fun, I'm actually going to configure these three knobs for the speed feedback, and for the moment that's all. We're going to leave the amount at half, which is 32. So this will be my MIDI controller up the top is 10s and feedback will be 20. So let's test this. So as you see, I'm just feeding in sound. So if you want to get rid of the sound, well, you have to put feedback down, okay? You can probably add maybe this button to put feedback automatically to 0. So how can I do this? Well, either it's this knob, or, so this will be mux. So by default it will be up here, and when something is pressed, so this is the button underneath, it will be this button here, that will mean 0. So actually this should probably already work. Oh, this sounds quiet. So it works. So there you go, it all works. I want now this on all 8 tracks. So what I'm going to do is transform all this into a sub-object. So I'm going to get rid of my CC controls for the moment. This is already parent, well, it's already parameter and parent because I copied it from a sub-object, and it's going to, I'm going to keep this and put these 2, and so I want this, I want all this. Select this, Control X, Patcher, edit it. And now I need to put the inlet, so, well, the inlets, because there's audio in. And then there's the record. Oh, sorry, not at all. Inlet. So it's the binary actually. So it's record on and off, quad gate, and the erase gate. So record gate goes into the VCA, and erase gate goes into this mux, which changes it onto this input, which has nothing onto it, so it will send out to 0. As long as this is at positive, so as long as I keep this pressed. And let's put, for the moment, something quite big, let's say 5 seconds. So I quite like having fun with the carpus strong and, you know, these small small speeds, but I also like having the possibility of having long ones, and the best way is having a long delay. Well, you'll have to have a choice between the length of your delay and the amount of delays according to the memory you have left on your patch, so it's sometimes a choice, but 5 seconds is reasonable on memory size, and it's quite fun for a loop size. But it's quite hard with a MIDI controller to get into preciseness. So either you can have an extra controller, and GPOs would probably be useful for that, or you can change the scale of your knob. So good way of doing that is using something that I forgot its name. It's called interpolation Bezier curve. So let's take this, come back to my patch. I'm in the patch, yes, this is it. And this will change the curve of my button, so let's put this before the low filter. This is something that transforms it so it's more precise in the low spectra and less precise in the high amounts. And then I've also scaled it so that my maximum and my minimum don't get to 0. So this should actually be 0.01, and this at 63.5. It's a limiter. This is an object by SSS. You can scale your inputs and outputs, so and then your whatever comes in will be limited to this amount. So my input will be between 0 and 100, well, between 64 here. And I just want to limit it because when it's at 0, it buzzes, and sometimes at the maximum it buzzes too. And this is for the speed. So it just stops these kind of buzzes. So these are the inlets, and I need the outlets. Of course, if you're using GPOs, you'd probably put just your GPOs here, or blue inlets, as this is a sub-object. I think this is done. Close this. This is not it. This is it. Update. So here's my object. and this is my output. So I'm going to need a 8-track mixer. And I'm going to multiply this object by 8 and see if it works. Last time I did this, I had too much RAM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I used too much RAM and didn't work, so I had to split open all these things, and it worked for some reason. Don't ask me why. Probably something to do with the order in what objects get their information. So this is taking a bit of time, but it does. Blom, blom, blom. So this is all the inputs into the same. So the sound is always going into all of them, and it depends on if I press these buttons, if they get recorded or not. So if you have different kinds of controllers, like, I don't know, whatever, there's so many, you'll be using different numbers for the keys. You can use a keyboard, one key will be to record something, or you can use GPO buttons, you can sequence it. Knowing that all these times of these delays are tuned by ear. This is the whole thing about the buffer, where you just take a maximum amount and then you use variations of the speed up to that amount. Is that it's quite hard to have things synchronized. But if you normally have the same size of the buffer or of your delay, and you have the same speed, so if you put everything at the maximum, you'll probably have something more or less all synchronized. So we'll test this now, actually. So this is done. It should work, or not. It works. There we go. So if I press here, maybe we'll have sound. So we do. I haven't put the MIDI CCs for these, so the speeds, top row, I'm on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17. I'm ready for I'm on low pass, I don't care. Feedback, yep, this is the one. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So, I mean, this is all depends on your controller. I could have already done this and go boop, 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 but I don't. I'm showing you the full thing. Amount, let's leave this at middle, so that means we hear what we record while we're recording it. And then let's just do these volumes. So I'm at 10, 20, 30, 40 here. So 40, 40, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. You can even have a patch with all these already made for your controllers, actually, because you're often put in the same. Well, actually, you're not. But anyway, there we go. So let's try this again. So now I have all these on the volumes. So let's put everything loud. this is my speed, so they should be all at different speeds now. And this is my feedback. They're all at maximum. Because I want to make it all messy. So here, this is the speed. You can really see that I've still got quite some time here and I'm really at fast speed. Okay. And as soon as I come to midway, I'm getting into more beat territory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then this is fast beats, and as soon as I start going here, I'm getting really, really fast. So here you can do kind of springy, carpus, strong things. And then down here you get really to the much longer. So if I put all the speeds at maximum, I should more or less have something synchronized. Maybe. No, I do actually. It's just that as the they're all at 5 seconds, it's quite hard to have some kind of idea of a beat. So to simplify that, you can actually do something fun. It's change one of these and make it much shorter, kind of 1 second. Now let's, because all these are multiples of the others. They're all, you know, it's multiplied by 2 each time. So if this is at maximum speed, it should be right. But as I'm using the scale and this for the speed, I think it doesn't actually work. So normally, oh, I forgot to update this. So this is at a speed which you can, you know, do beats, and then these will be multiples normally. Why don't? Oh. Well, that's deceiving. That was long. Let's try again. So here, that's it, I'm using the first track as a kind of click. I can get rid of it by either erasing it or just volume down. You can have quite a lot of fun actually with the this speed that we're controlling here in the object. If you divide just what the signal you're putting in by 2, you're going to have something that's going to be twice the speed, so 2 times shorter, and you can have quite fun with that because you can have multiples, one or the other, but otherwise you're going to tune your first beat by the first speed kind of thing. And of course You could also have all of these multiplied by one same thing kind of thing, which could be your main speed. So that would, you change all of these at the same time. I could do it if it wouldn't take so much time. But, well, you have the idea, and as you can see, it doesn't use much DSP. You can put quite long loops, and so I'm at 32% DSP, so it leaves loads of more resources for fun things. It might use quite a bit of it, RAM, SRAM. Well, it's up to you to test. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. You can now have fun. Voila.